It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Breaking news from this morning. Nashville has put in a bid for WNBA expansion with a team called the Tennessee Summit. The ownership group is led by former Governor Bill Haslam and his wife, Chrissy. It also includes former Lady Vol Candace Parker, Peyton Manning, and Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. The bid is with a target date of 2028, and the team would play in Bridgestone Arena. There is breaking news from this afternoon in the NFL. Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker has been accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by 6 massage therapists, according to a report by Baltimore Banner. The Ravens and the National Football League have declined comment. Titans defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons was named to the Pro Bowl roster on Wednesday as a replacement for Ravens defensive tackle Nnamdi Madubuike. Simmons had 5 sacks in the 2024 season. It is the 3rd Pro Bowl nomination of his career. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2, powered by all 4 Seasons Garage Doors, with you until 3 o'clock with the hitman Blaine Bishop. I'm Lucas Panzica. In for Zach Lyons this week. We will hear from Zach as he checks in from the Senior Bowl in Mobile at 2:20. Had a very interesting conversation with Titans GM Mike Borgonzi, which you can go back and watch on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube page. Also, F Words Pod, wherever you get your podcast. Check in about some prospects as well. But a newsy day, Blaine, in the Music City and around the NFL. We kind of mentioned, and you heard it in the update, ugly story reported by the Baltimore Banner that Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker has been accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by 6 massage therapists. That is all we know at this point. Multiple therapists saying they declined to work with him again, and 2 spas that claim they banned him from their place of business. Both the Ravens and the NFL have declined comment. So
what year was this?
Is a still developing story.
Is this recent?
I believe the allegations were from some years ago. I will pull it up just to be certain. I don't want to just guess the year. Joseph was just in here talking about it, and I just had the article up. But it is not something that, they're saying happened
within the last year.
I don't believe so.
Oh.
No. 2 women say the incidents took place from 2012, which was his rookie season in Baltimore, to 2016. So 2012 to 2016 is the window that these accusations are coming from.
From 2 different locations?
2 spas that claim they banned him from their place of business.
Oh, wow. I wonder if this is somewhere where the team sent them? I'm just asking a question. I have no idea. I didn't even know until you guys told me when I walked in the door. But,
Yeah, ugly story. A lot of questions.
I was about to say that was a real touchy subject.
No doubt. Yeah, and his lawyers are the only ones that
Stop that, Jackson.
His lawyers, look at you, the wordplay. His lawyers have denied all misconduct allegations. So
I mean, man,
we'll see what
just
comes of
can't
it.
believe, this is just unbelievable as much as all the Watson. So is this going to turn into a whole Watson deal?
We'll see.
Here,
now, that was a complicated situation, right? Because you had NDAs that were given to massage therapists, and that complicated things. And the sheer volume of allegations on Watson it was just insane. So we'll see if anything more comes of this, but that's all we know as of right now.
Man,
Yes.
Man, that's probably the greatest kicker of all time in the NFL, which doesn't really matter in this point, but it's just like, man, I don't know what goes through some of these guys' head, man, what's appropriate and not. It should be that easy. So, hey, man, if it's true, then what's coming to him, he'll get. So that's kind of how I view it, man. It's actually absurd to even hear stuff like that. It's really ridiculous from my point of view and perspective.
From an ugly story to a much happier one, there was news this morning at about 10 o'clock reported initially by the Tennessean that the city of Nashville has put in a bid, Blaine, for a WNBA expansion franchise that would be called the Tennessee Summit. Bill Haslam very recently started the process of becoming a majority owner with the Nashville Predators. He officially will be a majority owner of the Preds July 1st of this year. So coming up this summer, and he has decided he wants to expand that ownership phase of his career into the WNBA. Now, this group is led by Bill Haslam and his wife, Chrissy. Candace Parker is a part of it. Peyton Manning is a part of it.
Omaha.
Tim McGraw and Faith Hill also a part of it. So if the bid were to be approved by the WNBA, it's worth noting multiple other cities also have put in bids. The WNBA reportedly has a goal of 16 franchises by 2028. So that's the timeline they would be on. They want a WNBA team called the Tennessee Summit to be playing in Bridgestone Arena by the year 2028.
Oh, man. What do you think about the idea? I think it's a fantastic idea, especially a long term. I think women's sports and athletics is kind of transformed now, and they need more, volume of, credibility, I say, in the pro arena. I love the idea. And Tennessee, the history there, naming it Tennessee Summit, it was pretty awesome, man. That is pretty cool. And I don't think it affects Knoxville and the Lady Vols by any means. He'll be here in Nashville. So, I think it's a great idea. I think they got backed last year. That's the WNBA. I thought somebody spent $2 billion. I can just remember that number. But I thought they were getting represented and sponsored by some big company. So they have kind of increased the structure and how things are done in the WNBA. So it's a long-lasting deal. So it'll be a long-term investment, but also something that continues to grow in the community. I think you can connect to. So, I think it'll be a great support. But to me, there's also another caveat that has nothing to do with WNBA. I want to ask this question. Would you rather have a WNBA team or a Major League Baseball team?
615-737-1045 for you to jump in. We're also on 1045 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. My answer, WNBA. Now, I'm biased because I'm not a baseball guy. People that know me know this. I enjoy going to a baseball game. I didn't grow up a baseball fan. It was always hard for me to get attached to baseball as a sport. I love basketball. I love the idea of the star power that currently is in the WNBA coming to Nashville. I love the idea of honoring Pat Summitt's legacy, which is a huge part of this. And in fact, there's a Twitter account already at TN Summit. And there's a statement in here from Candace Parker, who's part of the ownership group. She says, quote, "Tennessee is the DNA of everything women's basketball stands for. I'm excited to be a part of the group working to bring a WNBA team to the state and honor Coach Summitt's legacy." I have no doubt, Blaine, that more people watch baseball in Nashville than the WNBA. But I do think this is an easier feat to accomplish. I think there's less obstacles to having a successful WNBA team. The venue's right there,
Arena Bridgestone.
right? Less seats to fill, all of these things. And the money's in place, which it's not for baseball.
Got to make sure it doesn't conflict with the scheduling. I don't think it does with the Predators.
No, they would find a way around it, and you're talking about the same owner for both in Bill Haslam. But where are you on this? You're a huge basketball guy. You're from Indiana.
Yeah.
Where are you on this?
Oh, no, I love the idea, and I think it'll be a perfect fit for the history here with, college basketball, women's college basketball, and what's been done there with the late, great Pat Summitt and all the national championships. So that's why you now, are having Candace Parker and, people affiliated with the Vols. So, man, I think it's a no-brainer and easy to accomplish. As you mentioned, there with the venue already here. So I think it's a much easier task, and I would bet I'd love to know the other cities that have put in bids, but I would expect that Nashville, being the popping and hot city and growing city, that it would be at the top of the list.
I know Cleveland is one. Patrick Mahomes has talked about being part of a group that wants to bring the WNBA to Kansas City.
Oh,
I mean, he's kind of spread out into these business ventures. He's a part owner of their professional women's soccer team in Kansas City. So I don't know if Kansas City has formally put in a bid and announced it the way that Tennessee has, but there are multiple teams. The WNBA currently has 12. They have 15 that are, or I believe their goal, like I said, is to get to 16 by 2028. And so Tennessee Summit would be the 16th team. We put it to a poll at Blaine and Zach on Twitter. Would you rather have a WNBA franchise or an MLB franchise in Nashville? What do you expect? You expect most of the vote will be for Major League Baseball? For the people voting?
I think it's going to be WNBA.
Okay.
No, I do. I did. I was not part of, but I was seeing how when you start a WNBA team, which the Houston Comets came to Houston there in the mid to late 90s, I guess, and you got to see how much that transformed the city. And naturally, the Houston Rockets were two-time champions while I was there, so that made it a little bit easier. So I think the foundation of what everything they started there is much different than it is today. I just think it's an easier task, and it fits. I'm real big on fit, and women's basketball is huge here in Nashville, so in the state of Tennessee. So, yeah, I think that also should play a factor, and also who all's involved says a true statement of the representation of what they want to accomplish here, and they're serious. So, yeah, I love the idea. Yeah, I think baseball's a ways away. First and foremost, you don't know where you're going to put the venue. I know they would love to have it somewhere located close to downtown. Okay, so where is that going to be? I don't know a spot.
So many unknowns, yeah.
Right, and so then you have to build a stadium. Then is it going to be a team that moves here, or is it going to start from scratch? I mean, so there's a lot of tougher questions to be answered, not as easy. So and probably more money. So yeah, I think baseball would work here, but I think it's easier if I was comparing the two. That's why I'm picking the WNBA.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in. That'd be fun living in Houston, playing for the Oilers when the Rockets were doing their thing.
Oh, yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Oh, the Dream and him and Clyde. And, oh, man.
How often were you going
Kenny
to games?
Smith. Oh, I was on front row.
Oh, man.
Well,
right
I love basketball from any. Yeah,
I know you do.
Yeah,
I know you do.
I love basketball.
I don't think I've ever asked you about that.
Yeah. So that was a really unique time. So they were back-to-back champions. And, I think that was maybe been the years that maybe
94, 95.
Was it 94, 95? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to figure out when MJ took a break, and that's how they got it. Because everybody talked about that.
Right in the middle there. Took advantage of that.
They did. So, it was pretty cool. And then I was going to the Comets game as well. I think, what was it, Cynthia Cooper, and who was the star player there? I think she's a head coach of one of the WNBA teams now. I want to say, can't remember. She was the point guard. She was an Olympian as well. But she was a really
Cheryl Swoops.
Swoops was on the team. She was the biggest name, but the point guard, she was coaching at least in the WNBA a couple years ago. But so it was a fun time. And it was the other lady who did the lipstick. That was a big thing back then, a big red lipstick, and she would play in that in the game. So that was cool too. I think that was who Cooper was. Yeah.
Taking your call, 615-737-1045. What do you think about Nashville potentially having a WNBA team called Tennessee Summit playing in Bridgestone Arena by 2028? John is up first on cover 2. Hey, John.
Yeah, hey, guys. I'd have to be a hard pass on both. Baseball's so far down the line, I don't think it's even really worth talking about.
Yeah.
Or anything else. As far as the WNBA, I mean, it's fully subsidized by the NBA to even stay afloat. Garbage product made up mostly of garbage individuals. Hard pass. All that would do would take away available dates for the great concerts we get on a weekly basis at Bridgestone. Thanks, guys.
All right, John. Come on. Garbage individuals.
Yeah.
We're going kind of far. Phil a touch personal.
We don't even know the players.
Just a little bit personal there. John's got some other things to work through.
Why are you doing that, Jackson? He's like shaking your head like, huh? It should be like, what the heck was he doing?
Feel like it's about something other than basketball, but and don't worry, those you're going to get your concerts. It's Nashville.
They're not going to miss out on that.
Yeah,
that's
not going to miss out on
arena
that.
there with the Titans there, so they'll have plenty of options here where to have it have those concerts.
Taylor on the FNM Bank chat says, "Yeah, I'm sure this guy goes to a lot of concerts. That's why he hates the WNBA." But what about the concerts?
That's why we're going to break right there on that.
Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone. When we come back, one big need of the Titans that we're not talking about too much. That's next. Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Check us out on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Zach Lyons will check in at 2:20. I'm Lucas Panzika. Glad to be here with the hitman, Blaine Bishop, for another day. So a lot gets overshadowed, Blaine, in the lead up to an NFL draft where a team has the number 1 overall pick and a need at quarterback. Because naturally, we're going to talk quarterback. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward for the next 3 months. We do need to make time about what the Titans are going to do at multiple positions of need because we don't know for certain if they're going to take a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick. We don't know if they are going to be picking at number 1 overall, period.
No, they told me.
Oh, they told you? Oh,
no,
good.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, you had me.
We don't, none of us know what the heck is going on here. We're all guessing, and nobody has it. They don't even know at this point in time, probably.
So it's not that Titans fans don't know that wide receiver is a massive need for this team. Of course, we all know that. But we have hardly talked about that so far because it's been so dominated by the early portion of the quarterback discussion in the pre-draft process. And that's all fine and what we're going to have plenty of time to talk about these needs. But let's get into that today. We talked yesterday about the running back spot. If the Titans should just run it back with Pollard and Spears, what they should add to that room. Well, the context around the wide receiver position is extremely different going into 2025. There's not really a run it back feel, right, like there is at running back, because Calvin Ridley's under contract. He's a 1,000-yard receiver from last year, but he'll be on the wrong side of 30. And NWI was your second lead receiver. He's a free agent. Tyler Boyd was your third leader at the wide receiver position. Chigakonko had a more productive season than Tyler Boyd, but
he is not a receiver.
For the guys who have WR next to their name, Tyler Boyd, 390 receiving yards, free agent. So you're looking at a very, very bare cupboard right now at the wide receiver room outside of Calvin Ridley, who we understand is a talented player. And look, Ridley, for his issues early on, I know he dealt with drops. It wasn't perfect. But for him to have a 1,000-yard receiving season with the quarterback season the Titans had, it's not something to ignore. But
no doubt.
All that to say, there's a lot of work to do in that room.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I would love for them to get NWI back at a modest contract. I don't know what that really entails. Maybe 5 to 7. I don't know, over a 3-year window per year. So I don't know what the market says, but I love what he brings to the table because if you upgrade your wide receiver spots, he should be that safety valve or that third guy that nobody pays attention to, and yet he can be very productive against their third or fourth defensive back, cornerback. So I love to have him back. You understand his personality and who he is and how he goes about his business. So nothing like know what you got in your hand. So I'd love to have him back. So that'll be really interesting. I would have been probably trying to, after he showcased a little bit there at the end of the season, maybe they probably did talk to him, but, at that point in time, the agent probably said, hey, we can just wait now. Free agency here. We'll see where we go. We'd love to stay there, but we'll see what the market really dictates where we're at. So we can see that we get the proper pricing for where he's at. But if he's talking about some astronomical numbers, over $10 million per year or something like that, I can't do that. But
9 touchdowns.
They definitely going to have to add via free agency. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe a mid-leveling solid player, not a high price like Ridley. And then you probably going to have to go. That would probably be my second pick. And you notice how I didn't say second round pick.
You did not?
My second pick, because I'm assuming that the Titans are going to trade back and get multiple picks. So, I really like what I saw today. I was watching the practice there at the Senior Bowl. I loved him when I watched him play. He reminded me a little bit of Tank Dell. And that's, what's his name? Tez Johnson, the wide receiver.
The Oregon wide receiver.
From Oregon. Yeah, he's explosive. Yeah, and you see it instantly. And I know a lot of people talk about his size and, he's thin and those things, which, we saw Tank Dell had some issues there at the end with hurting his leg, but that was a random, accident. Someone fell on him. But so I really like him as one of my guys you probably can get in that second, third round. He's a dynamic player that's different than what we've seen in a Titans uniform, really, at wide receiver. So I like him. And then, you probably want to get someone similar to NWI, whether that's in free agency or you got to at least have you 3 solid go-to guys that these are our guys. So outside of, making sure, know what you're going to do with the quarterback. So, yeah, this is a huge gap here. A lot of gaps to fill. Makes me feel very uncomfortable in that you're going to have probably a new quarterback, going to have new wide receivers. Only thing is consistent, you got the same play caller. But all that newness, it makes me a little nervous on offense because offense, it takes time to gel and really come to rhythm and flow and timing. And sometimes you pick it up quick, you can use Jaden Daniels, but that's an anomaly. Or you can look at how most offenses don't really get to going and clicking probably till week 5, 6, where you're in flow. If it's a lot of new pieces and parts, unless the new quarterback is someone who knows the offense. It always helps. I don't know who, a lot of people try to connect Callahan to a lot of different people. I think that's overblown and a little overrated for me because he could have been just a quality control. That didn't mean he coached him. That didn't mean he had a good relationship with him. He was just there as someone giving him information. Even sometimes when you're the quarterback coach, you don't know what they're really thinking. He may have thought that, hey, man, this guy's doing a good job. He's a hard worker, but I'm not doing half the things he tells me to do because this is what works for me if he's working with a veteran quarterback. So, sometimes that happens, and then sometimes he's a major impact. I mean, we could put Peyton Manning and all these different people on the list, but where is he really coaching Peyton Manning? Come on, man. Really? Let's stop connecting the dots and saying that he was on the staff and that he coached some of these guys. I think that's overblown, and I think if I was him, I'd probably go with maybe somewhat unknown, but I would think to know my offense. See, so he's been in multiple offenses, so he wasn't always the head honcho. So I would probably go that route, but it's me. You never know. You'd be interested to see what Sam Darnold gets on the market. Would you go there? How much? Is he going to be available? Will the Vikings bring him back after those last 2 games?
Could the Vikings tag and trade him? I mean, there's so many different scenarios.
Ooh, I love that idea.
And that connection.
But I wouldn't want to trade. I don't want to give up capital.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. I mean, that would run pretty counter to 30 draft picks in the next 3 years. The connection that just immediately comes to mind is Derek Carr. Derek Carr, who worked under Brian Callahan. Callahan was his QB coach in Vegas. Carr also worked with Bo Hardigree, who's currently the Titans quarterbacks coach. Thing is, Derek Carr is not on the market. He's not a free agent. There is an out in his contract with the Saints. They would have to absorb over $50 million of dead cap, but they could cut him. He's under contract in New Orleans for the next couple of years, but that is the connection that everybody kind of throws out there.
Did they hire that coach yet?
They have not. There's kind of this wink, wink. It's Kellen Moore thing. It can't be official until after the Super Bowl, but everybody's calling him the favorite for the job. I don't know who else is out there.
McCarthy took himself out of it.
I'm not coaching, yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about the coaching carousel and where it's at later this year. But in terms of that connection, and because you're right, there's not going to be a lot of continuity with next year's offense. New quarterback, new receiver room. So I wonder about a guy like Tyler Boyd, who is about the same age as Ridley. He's 30. Boyd did not light the world on fire this year. 390 yards, didn't have any touchdowns. But I also feel like Tyler Boyd's strength as a receiver out of the slot as the security blanket, the check down option for a quarterback, isn't something that leaned into Will Levis's strengths as a quarterback to take that option. Smarter football people than me, like you, could tell me if I'm just reading too much into that and I'm giving Boyd too much credit for why he didn't produce as much as maybe we thought he would this year. But that is a guy that knows the Brian Callahan offense, that was very vocal before the season about how he was helping pull other guys along in what ultimately was pretty much the same language they had in Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on point on that a little bit. You could see in some games, especially when it became Mason Rudolph, he would hit the tight ends and the slot guys a little bit more. I don't know if that was a function of they were more comfortable. That always is the case with the quarterback, or they were shorter passes and he can get it out quick. There's a lot of factors that go in that we really don't know. But, I think I would love to have, if I can get him for like $5-6 million per year, NWI in that role as that slot guy. And I know he can play outside because he was effective there, but there I think he could be a little more and be worth the bang of the buck, and someone who knows the offense at this point in time and plays as though he's a veteran in this league, because he is now. And he showcased that, put that all out there this year, that he is a proven guy that's one to be reckoned with, at least as a 2 or 3 at this point in time of his career. Now everybody plays 3 wide, so I'm going to say 3. So, yeah, I'd love to have him there. And then now I think it's a little easier to have guys where you can put on the outside, but you can move guys over the place. I love that when that happens because I hated it when I was on defense. I love when they said, oh, this guy's the slot. This guy's the outside. Well, you just made it easy for me to study your tendencies and everything you like to do with certain players. But when you can mix and match and move guys around, now it's all jumbled in my head now. Because as soon as you line up, I know you're going to run one of three plays instantly. Bang, 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 and that's coming. Hey, well, NWI, guess what? Sometimes really be in the slot. Sometimes NWI's out wide. And then who else you may add to it? Maybe a high draft pick. I'm thinking that because I wouldn't want to spend a lot more money on wide receiver. Now you have everybody's role set. Ridley's the dude. He's the number one. That's why they pay him the big money. You got to throw him the ball. He has to get his touches. And then everybody else is going to kind of fit in. Rookie with NWI who never complains about anything. He just keeps producing touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's what I want right there. That's now talking about chemistry within your own room right there. Then maybe if you bring in if Derek Carr gets cut, a guy who knows the offense, and then all of a sudden production increases, everybody's playing in unison, and you eventually need to win games. So a lot of unknowns here, man, but it makes me really nervous. But, man, they got to get that addressed pretty quickly here in free agency, and I'm interested to see who are the other candidates outside of Derek Carr if that doesn't happen. Like, where do we go then? What are plan B, C, and D? Because I think that's what you need. And we're talking about at the most valuable position, quarterback. Because he's the one throwing it to the receivers. So I don't know even Sam Darnold, let's say he's a free agent. Man, I don't want to feel jaded because of the last two games, and that's not who he is based off the whole premise of the whole season. But that's kind of what this line is about, is you're going to get pressure and heat, and that's what happened in those games, and he turned back into the Sam Darnold of old. So I don't know if he's in a position, younger guy, in that he wants to be a bridge. I think he was like, hey, man, sign me the 4 or 5 year deal.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's probably going to be a possibility if he's available. So then where do you go then? What veteran guy? I know a lot of people connect Callahan to Andy Dalton. I'm like, oh, Andy Dalton? Oh, what? Like as the backup, right?
Yeah, right, because they overlapped for a year before the Bengals drafted Joe Burrow. Come on.
Oh, man, that's just, that's a reach. So all these things are telling me probably should take a quarterback. But, man, you need so many parts and pieces. Yeah. You may ruin your quarterback right off the bat. Now, there will be other veteran guys you can bring in for his backup, but then they're not the bridge. Okay, how about this? What if you you draft at number one a quarterback, whoever it is, Cam Ward or Shador, and you bring in Mac Jones to be the bridge? Or is he the bridge, or is he just the backup?
The free agent.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm just saying that's a guy he's still kind of trying to prove himself, got a lot invested in saying that I can be a guy in an organization. You can do it here temporarily, and then we'll let you roll, but we're going to turn to our guy eventually. Or do you ride with him? I don't know how comfortable I don't even know if he knows the offense. I just used him as an example. And a lot of people say, well, he didn't work out where he's at. Well, sometimes situations kind of dictate what happens. He did well his first year with the Patriots. Then all of a sudden they brought in a DC to call offensive plays. Then all of a sudden he looked different. So I would look more at that. And then when he played the Titans, did he start both games? I think he did.
He did, yeah.
Did they win both games?
They did.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, there you go. Well, we got to see him on tape. And he was way more mobile than I ever imagined him to be.
He was scrambling around a little bit, wasn't he? I think we were all kind of taken aback by that. I was just like,
okay, maybe he's a bridge guy, who would get at a decent price. Someone like that. I don't want to go this old Andy Dalton. Derek Carr is at the limit if he's available. Like, okay, he's probably got a couple more years. He knows the offense. How much are you wanting to spend with him, though? And I think he's going to ask for, big money. I think he's just kind of that guy, especially with somebody knows. I don't know. Maybe he'll take 30 for being a bridge guy as a starter. So it'll be really interesting because I don't know the answers, but, man, it's starting to, when free agency starts, we're going to see what the Titans' plan is. Plan A and then plan B real quick once free agency starts.
Yeah, and look, it's so easy to scoff at the idea of a Mac Jones, but there's too many reclamation projects in the NFL that have gone well to sit there and call it a career for any of these guys, right? Like you don't know what Daniel Jones is going to look like in 2 years, what Mac Jones is going to look like in 2 years. They could continue on their same path, absolutely, but we can't sit here and look at what Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith have done to revive their career and then just continue to just dismiss guys because of their early career struggles, especially with the context of a guy like Mac Jones. Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to have a year like Sam Darnold and lead a team to 14 wins, but
who's motivated?
Exactly. That's not exactly what we're talking about. Okay, how does this hit you? By the way, real quick, the Titans have made it official. We knew this already, and in fact, GM Mike Borgonzi has talked about this already. He talked to Zach Lyons about it yesterday. The Titans make it official. They are adding Dave Ziegler as assistant general manager and Reggie McKenzie as vice president / football advisor to the front office. 2 former Raiders GMs, and that is official from the franchise. So that's interesting. McKenzie's role, we knew Ziegler, assistant GM. McKenzie's role was reported as a key scouting role, and they name him vice president / football advisor. So does he report to Chad Brinker, would be my question. But maybe we'll get more on that.
Well, I would think everybody reports to Chad Brinker, and Brinker reports to Amy, and Amy, everybody reports to Amy.
True. Well, there is kind of this pecking order where Ziegler to Borgonzi to Brinker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just where does McKenzie fit into all that?
I mean, what does it matter if they win?
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
And so, I get why everybody's asking that question is because we didn't know and we lost, right?
Yeah, it's been so nebulous for 2 years.
And then over 2 years, guys coming and going and fired and out. I get it, but at the same time, like all I want is the product to look good and they win. So ultimately, who's making no decision? It's always going to go to the top. So it's going to start with Amy. So that's where it goes. So how they decide how to do all of that and who makes the final call, I think Brinker really has the final call. So I think everyone has an opinion at the table. Now, whether whose opinion is the strongest based off of what you have to support it. And that's kind of how those decisions are done. And then Brinker can break all tiebreakers, and he has the final say. So that's kind of how I view it. Actually, they're putting together a good team. Now, is that good? Is that too many cooks in the kitchen? Or is that good just to hear different voices, even though Brinker still has the final say, or Borgonzi has the final say. So I think you can look at it in different ways. One thing a lot of people always talk about is, well, they weren't winners at the Raiders. I don't know what their record was. I didn't even go look that up. I guess it doesn't matter. But these guys are in the industry. They understand how to win. Sometimes circumstances prevent you from winning. So, and I think that was when Gruden got in trouble there with the emails.
Yep.
So, Carr and everybody else was kind of just not the same. So
Ziegler didn't even get a chance in his first draft at a first or second round pick because they traded the farm for Devontae Adams in that massive deal. But yeah, I agree. I don't think you judge an assistant GM, how good is he at that job based on what he did as a GM. Zach said it the other day, right? Coordinators can have success, be a head coach, not find success, and then go back down to being a coordinator and continue to have success.
Not to say they didn't deserve their shot to be the head coach. It happens all the time where, coordinators get their shot and everybody deserves a shot. But then you realize, I don't know if he's a good head coach. I gave you a good example. Steve Spagnuolo coached me. I love him to death. I talk to him routinely.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would be a good head coach. He's already had his shot. But does he deserve a second shot? Maybe he knows more than he did then than he does now. Oh, no, they always want a shot.
Okay.
They always want a shot.
He's in a pretty good spot.
Well, he is in a good spot. He's real comfy, and cozy, right? Andy Reid has known him from his Philly days all the way to now. Yeah. So does McDermott, who's on that staff too, by the way, too. He knows him really well. Probably knows him too well, probably knows his tendencies and what he likes to do. So I think, everybody's going to get their shot. It's just a matter, do you have your chance to get your turn in the right timing, right spot, winning. Winning cures all. So sometimes guys get shots that don't deserve it just because they were on with a winning franchise. So it's hard to take that away from them and say, okay, can you bring that here? And it doesn't always work out that way.
Liam Cohen got his shot in Jacksonville, and he did some interesting things with it in a press conference. We'll see how it goes on the football field and with Trevor Lawrence. And the Jags still have to give someone a shot at general manager. They don't have one yet. So we're going to hear that clip probably multiple times today and for the next few months. Jackson? Oh, where is it? Come on. I know you got it. There it is.
Oh, you got to see his face, though.
Oh, that's the worst part. Mark Long of the AP is going to join us coming up next and break down what the world is going on in Jacksonville. That's next on Cover 2, 104.5 The Zone. So we just saw on our TV here in the studio, Harry Douglas doing a segment on ESPN called Dug It or Dislike It.
Oh, okay.
And
I like it.
they played a clip of Liam Cohen doing his Duval. We'll spare you from the audio. You've heard it at this point 1,000 times. We don't need to. Okay. Well, no, Jackson says no. You have
got to
hear
see
it.
his face, though.
So Mark Long of the AP, he covers the Jacksonville Jaguars. He'll join us here in a moment. But
Jay
man,
Harris.
what is going on in Jacksonville? I feel like any time, and I know things haven't been great here in the last 2 years, and there's been turnover, and we're doing introductory press conferences every year, but you just take a peek down there, and it can make you feel a little bit better sometimes. So quick recap before we get Mark Long on. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, we'd have to go pretty far back to detail the dysfunction and all the coaching firings and what happened with Urban Meyer, but we'll just start with a couple of weeks ago. Their season ends, dreadful season. They go ahead and fire Doug Peterson, which
But
was
better
expected.
than the Titans because they beat us twice.
Definitely swept the Titans. They fired Doug Peterson, the head coach, and they keep Trent Baalke. And nobody agrees with the move.
Yeah, the
I mean,
GM.
nobody agrees with the move. Yeah, to keep the GM Trent Baalke, saying you're not going to attract any good head coaching candidates. You've got Shad Khan on a press conference via Zoom telling media he was asked if a coaching candidate were to kind of pitch. Jackson, do we have this? We played it last week. I know I'm springing this on you. Shad Khan insinuating that he would consider firing Trent Baalke if a head coaching candidate made a kind of a credible suggestion that.
Oh, yeah, I saw it on X.
Yeah. With Trent Baalke right next to him on the Zoom in the press conference. Yeah, I'd fire him.
Oh, my God.
And next thing you know, nobody wants to coach the Jags. They try to hire Liam Cohen. He says, I don't want to work for this guy. I'm going to go back to Tampa to be probably the highest paid offensive coordinator in football. And, okay, here's Shad Khan, and you'll hear the question. Trent Baalke is in the Zoom, in the press conference, next to Shad Khan.
I'd actually like to go back to John's first question, Shad, back to you. I know you noted that if this head coaching candidate was to say, hey, I think the medical needs to be reevaluated, the health and wellness, if they were to say, I would like to reevaluate the front office and the general manager, what would your response be?
My response would be, how would you improve it? And then if it is credible, I mean, you want to do it, okay?
If it's credible, you want to do it. Yeah.
We got to say, consider doing something. Maybe we could work out some things that, man, he did. He just said,
Yeah, if it's credible, we would do it. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that. Never in my life have I
That
seen
sounds like something
that.
Jackson would do right there.
Oh, man.
Jackson.
So that's how Jackson's going to get Buck fired and finally get him off his neck.
That's what
it's
I'm
my
hearing,
master
man.
plan. That's right.
That's your master plan. Oh, man.
So you see that, and it's okay. They get rid of Trent Baalke, and they get Liam Cohen. And it's a crazy story, and Cohen ghosts Tampa for 48 hours. They're trying to get a hold of him, and because he's in Jacksonville working things out. He left, but then they fired Baalke, so he goes back. And Liam Cohen, as clearly you've heard from that audio, is the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. All kinds of cringeworthy press conference moments. But the guy can coach football, right? And he helped Baker Mayfield to a career-high season. We know that he helped orchestrate Will Levis's best year of his career at Kentucky in 2021. He's been at several jobs, Blaine. I mean, this dude might be on his, I think it's his 8th job in 8 years. Rams, Kentucky, Tampa, Jacksonville.
Where he went back and forth with the Rams.
Back and forth with the Rams. Right.
But I think he was at major institutions as far as college and pro. I think it was only like 5 years. So this is a meteoric rise.
Absolutely.
To a head coach in the National Football League, if you look at his resume. At least to me, it looked like that. So if I was 5 years coaching at a position and then, maybe OC here or there, I'd be a head coach in the NFL.
The AFC South is full of these guys, of these sub 40 or right around 40-year-old head coaches. Who do you think is the oldest head coach in the AFC South?
I don't know. Callahan?
Brian Callahan
Am I right? No?
is almost 2 months older than DeMeco Ryans. They're both 40.
Oh.
Shane Steichen, 39. Liam Cohen, 39. It's the youngest head coaching division in the NFL. And then you look over to the AFC West, where Pete Carroll is 74 or 73, 74. He'll be 74 week one. Still doing it. All four of those coaches in that division have either been to or won a Super Bowl. Two of them have won a national championship. Like, been there, done that all over the place. And the AFC South, young, with the exception of DeMeco Ryans, offensive-minded head coaches trying to get something turned around. And Liam Cohen is the latest of that group. But the caveat here is Jags don't have a GM, and Shad Khan says he wants to get one in by the end of February. The end of February. Senior Bowl is happening right now. The Combine is the last month of February.
Who's the leading candidate? Do we have any idea? Jackson, of who wants to be?
I think it's Jackson. No, it is. It's Jackson.
Yes, I will be the next GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, my.
Adam Schefter's reported Ian Cunningham, who had interviewed for this job
right.
From the Bears assistant GM, is the lead candidate, is what Schefter says.
He would get it unless someone comes
I'll beat him
out
out.
of nowhere. I mean, he had to make the decision before then. I know you don't want to rush into a decision, but I think he also had some form of relationship with Liam Cohen. I think a little bit, at least.
Ian Cunningham?
Yes, Did he? I mean, because, wow. Because you want them kind of to be somewhat familiar with one another, know someone who knows someone of how.
They might. I haven't seen any crossover they've had in their careers,
man.
but
That's always tough. But yeah, you were talking about the divisions and how they're so different. I think why it's so different. I think you have to use different models for the reason why you hire your head coach and why those ages are so different. First of all, you're going against Andy Reid, a veteran coach. So what do you think you want to do to beat a veteran head coach? You want to bring in veteran head coaches who have been there, done that. And when I say been there, done that, no, they had success. They won Super Bowls. So I think it's supposed that they do that, and we stay young and kind of growing. And right now, the AFC South is one of the worst divisions in the NFL. And hopefully at some point, the tide always turns, and then they're one of the better ones. So hopefully, you got some good young up-and-coming coaches. We'll see. We already seen what DeMeco Ryans can be. And hopefully Callahan with a new GM and a new staff as far as up top and upstairs, they can turn around sooner than later. And when I say that, I'm talking about, okay, will they be competitive and be pushing to make the playoffs? And every game is going down to the wire. That's when you know you've made progress. And then now you're a player two away and say, hopefully when you get experience and then going into year two with this group that all of a sudden now everything starts clicking. So that means your quarterback will be in place.
Quarterback's in place in Jacksonville. So what can Liam Cohen do with it? As of now, Trevor Lawrence, he's got his contract.
But what if he doesn't jive and they do horrible there in Jacksonville after 1 year as far as offensively with the quarterback?
But you got to think that's a big reason for Liam Cohen to want this job, right? The talent of the potential of a Trevor Lawrence.
Watch this. Do you think Callahan liked this job with the potential of Will Levis?
For sure, but there's more mobility there, more of an ability to move away from a second-round pick still on his rookie deal, as opposed to the quarterback that you paid last offseason.
Right. You're basing it off of pay. So if Will Levis was paid, you would be saying the same thing.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So reason why I say that is because Trevor Lawrence, to me, as much as I like him, he hasn't lived up to the first pick of the draft billing. I'm sorry. I've watched him at Clemson. I watched him even in high school, and he hasn't lived up to the billing. He's just a solid starting NFL quarterback. So granted, he got what he deserved with the market the way it is. So that way, I'm not assuming that he is a guaranteed fit after this year if it doesn't go well. Reason why I say that, I just heard Shad Khan. And I just heard how he was talking. And I think it doesn't even matter who you are. You don't perform, it may be time to go in another direction. And Liam Cohen will be like, who will be to blame? It won't be him if he's trying to deflect. It's always going to go to him, then the quarterback. And then what did he have around him? So it will be interesting. We just want to parlay that's just guaranteed. And sometimes your contract, when you're in a big contract like that, it does somewhat guarantee a certain situation. But if it's not a good fit, I think Trevor Lawrence is the type of guy to say it's just not a good fit. And then they'll try to get him out of there.
We'll see what happens. A lot of interesting stuff for the future of this division, as we said, comprised of all coaches 40 or under. And it's been interesting to take a look at the coaching carousel in the NFL this time around. How many teams are going for the young offensive play caller, like the Titans did last year, like the Jags have, versus the defensive-minded CEO kind of head coach? Where is the league trending at the moment? We'll try to nail that down next. It's Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Typically, right about now, you're hearing Zach Lyons open things up. I'm not Zach Lyons. He will be here in about 20 minutes to check in from Senior Bowl, where he is with F Words Pod. I'm Lucas Panzica with Blaine Bishop today until 3 o'clock. Glad to be here. You were very much on the side of a big proponent of the Titans moving towards young, offensive-minded, quarterback-developing head coach, right? When they moved on from Mike Vrabel.
I would say I was, I would say it didn't have to be young, but offensive-minded.
Sure.
Yeah, it didn't have to be young. But, yeah, definitely wanted an offensive-minded coach. Thought that was the direction, kind of change. If you were going to move on from Derrick Henry and the style that they were in, I think that was, I really believe that's the direction we're going to go. Now, did you hire the right guy? I have no idea. I don't know the coaches like that, an up-and-coming young coach. That's why I said I would have never said young coach, but an offensive-minded coach.
Well, it's interesting to look at the coaching carousel in the NFL this year and how kind of split it is, where that felt like the thing to do. And now with 6 openings, it's very down the middle, where the Jags have hired first-time offensive play caller Liam Cohen. The Cowboys have hired first-time rookie head coach, offensive play caller Brian Schottenheimer. Sorry, Liam Cohen, not a first-time play caller, but first-time head coach and offensive play caller. And the Saints, reportedly, the favorite is Kellen Moore, first-time head coach, offensive play caller. So that's 3.
Yeah.
The Jets going on the defensive side with Aaron Glenn, as are the Patriots with Mike Vrabel. And then you've got the Raiders hiring Pete Carroll, who, if you go back to his last stint as a coordinator in the 90s, was an offensive coordinator, but I feel like he's in his own category.
Wasn't he calling defense?
Pete Carroll. I thought he was an offensive guy always, Pete Carroll.
Oh, I thought he was defense. Here's why I say that. He was Pete Carroll when I first got into the league. I played against him when he was the head coach of the New York Jets.
Yes.
New York Jets, and he was a defensive-minded coach, and the Jets were not very good.
You're correct. My mistake. You're absolutely right. Pete Carroll, defensive coordinator throughout his career. But I don't think you're hiring Pete Carroll for his defensive prowess, right? He is Pete
his
Carroll.
Leadership, right? Mm-hmm.
So, do you feel like there is any semblance of a movement away from the whiz kid, young offensive mind? Because Buck and I were talking about this the other day, and I did some digging on the Super Bowl champion coaches of just the last decade. Andy Reid's won 3. Bill Belichick's won 3, so it doesn't leave that much room for the other guys. So maybe this is a flawed exercise. Isn't that insane? 6 of the last 10. Like, are you kidding me? But Sean McVay, Bruce Arians, Doug Peterson, and Gary Kubiak are the other 4 head coaches to win
Well,
in the
McVay
last
was
decade.
young. The rest
McVay was the young play caller. Now, the rest of them kind of old heads, right? Reed, Belichick, Kubiak, Arians, Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
The offensive guy, but not necessarily the 40-year-old hotshot.
quarterback. Yeah, he played in the league
for
as
sure.
well.
Nick Foles as his quarterback. Now, you look at the coaches that have arrived at the Super Bowl and lost, and that list gets longer. It's Sirianni, it's Taylor, it's Shanahan. But do you think there's any semblance of movement or regression from feeling like you got to go get the young offensive-minded guy, maybe with what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit or what DeMeco Ryans has done in Houston?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know if it's changed. I think first and foremost, you would hire someone who actually called plays. First and foremost, I think all those people you named all called plays on offense before. But did our coach call plays?
No.
Right. See, that's a little bit different. So I would say that. But
McVay did not. McVay,
he was the quarterback's coach.
His head coaching debut was the first time he was a play caller.
I think, though.
He does. Yeah,
he still calls plays. So,
yes. But he went from being he was the offensive coordinator at Washington. So he was there under Jay Gruden, right?
Yeah.
Was Jay Gruden calling plays as the head coach at Washington?
Yeah. Yes, he was. I think he was with Jay Gruden. He was did Jay end up being the head coach there briefully as the interim?
Yeah, Jay Gruden was the head coach in Washington for some time. Yeah, he was RG3's head coach.
Yeah, McVay, and there was someone else off that tree. I think O'Connell.
A bunch of guys were on that tree. I mean,
but nobody ever mentions that he was the one that gave him the real shot.
LaFleur worked for Washington. I think Kyle Shanahan as well.
I'm a real big proponent on this. I'm not a trend guy. I'm not trend about clothes. I'm not trend about, that's just not in my DNA trend. Here's what's a trend to me.
Sorry, McVay did call plays in Washington. Sorry,
okay,
go ahead.
And and what I like is you want to hire that's the best fit for your organization, whether that's offense or defense, the one you think fits for the model of what you want to accomplish as an owner or a GM or the president of or CEO of the team. So to me, it shouldn't be dictated. Now, do you have worries that, okay, if you hire an offensive guy that can stick with your quarterback, that's always a concern, because if you hire a defensive guy, your coordinator could eventually leave and get their shot as a head coach. But that's down the road. So I would more so lean into what I think is a good fit and who impressed me with not only their resume, but I felt comfortable in the fit and that we could work together hand in hand. I think I overvalue that more so than, let's follow the trend of what the league is doing. So whether that was a defensive guy or offensive guy. Now, I wanted him to go offense, but I wasn't opposed of having them a defensive guy. Just because typically, here's what everybody does, is they hire the opposite of what happened before, which Vrabel was a defensive guy, so you end up going offense. In this instance, I wanted to go offense, but I wouldn't have been opposed to if you hired a defensive guy because it was a better fit. That's your opinion, that's your decision. So I don't know if I really follow the trends of the league, because sometimes that doesn't work out best for your organization. It's different than if you're working for a company and the trend says this is what goes up, and then you say, well, we better follow that trend or we're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
So it could a little bit, but I'd love to see some, 30 points a game. We haven't seen it yet. We got an offensive guy. Still haven't seen it. I want him to put up 30 points consistently, high 20s every game. But ultimately, when you get into the playoffs, you better be able to run the football enough to keep people honest and play. You don't have to play great defense now. You can play just really solid defense, and you have a shot once you get in the playoffs.
Finally broke the 30-point barrier a couple times, but
Right,
certainly did not average 30 points a game.
It was tough sled, man. I'm going to ask you this. Do you think the offense looked any different when Mason Rudolph was out there compared to Will Levis? The offense.
Not necessarily.
I'm sure it looked somewhat different because they're different style players. But
I think they were able to move the ball better. Like Calvin Ridley's first big game in terms of production didn't come until Mason Rudolph was playing quarterback. But on aggregate, no. The results remain the same.
But was that just coincidence because everybody was talking about, Ridley did get targets and he drops, and so they made a conscious effort by the coaching
that's
staff.
Part of it. I think Rudolph also will take the easy play. I think he's built a career as a backup quarterback taking the easy play, right? And I don't think you could say that about Will Levis necessarily. Mm-hmm. But in totality, the results weren't any different in the end.
Well, I mean, did the offense? You just felt like the offense looked a little bit different. Just he just got rid of the ball quicker. But I'm talking about turnovers. They still look the same to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't change.
Yeah, still turn the ball over at an egregious rate.
Right. So so the whole concept of what was really going on to me stayed the same, and that's really the concerning part to me. And you could say the defense as the season went on faltered, and they weren't as good, especially when you start talking about the Commanders game and after that where they got ran through. So. I just didn't like how everything still looked the same, and then no one continued to improve individually, and then as a team. The special teams actually improved, but they got different players out there. They went and signed some guys who were headhunters. Talk about 3 or 4 guys, but they were impactful players on special teams, and it got better.
See if anybody's getting better in Mobile. A lot of prospects been on the field. Today's the last day of practice. The game on Saturday. I think a lot of people ship out after today. Not a ton of folks stick around for the game. Do you remember, what did the crowd look like when you were playing for the actual game?
Well, the crowd was a decent crowd because there's people there in Mobile. But as far as the scouts and the coaches and everything else like that, they would leave during this time. The coaches who really wanted insight to me stayed around that next day, because you get more one-on-one and more conversation and longer conversations, or really get to know a player. That's what I learned when I was there as a player, looking back on it. And so, I think it's valuable. I know a lot of people leave after Thursday, after today's practice, but If I was in the scouting department, I would stay an extra day just to kind of get more one-on-one and a better feel for the player and who he is, because I value that just as much as I value the talent of the actual player.
Well, Zach Lyons has a lot to say from Mobile. He had a one-on-one with Mike Borgonzi, the new Titans GM. He's been watching prospects all week long. Maybe we get into the wide receiver position a little bit that we were talking about earlier in the show. He'll join us from the Senior Bowl in Mobile. Coming up next, it's Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's TOA.com.
Things are wrapping up in Mobile. Senior Bowl been in full swing. Zach Lyon's been hustling down there. Titans Radio also down there. Rhett Bryan, by the way, will be on with you, Blaine, tomorrow from 1 to 3 to kind of recap. Rhett's always got good insight from watching these prospects. So does Zach Lyons, who you typically hear from 1 to 3 on this show. Cover 2, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Zach joins us now from Mobile. Another day down there. Zach, are you getting tired yet? Are those eyes getting weary from watching routes on air and one-on-one drills and all these other things?
Tell him you don't get tired.
I don't get tired. The American team, the second practice really pushed it because I don't know what their deal is. They don't play music during practice.
Oh.
And it's been all 3 weeks. So if you were just basing the result of the game on Saturday off of practice vibes, national team, put all your money, put your mom's mortgage, your dad's mortgage, it doesn't matter, put it all on the national team because the American team lacks so many vibes from their practice. And today was just, they were so boring. They started out with a bunch of special team reps, but it wasn't even at least kicking the ball. They was just like teaching them the technique of blocking. And it was a bad start for the American team in the second practice.
Did you go talk to Jim Nagy and say, where's the music? Get this thing, lighten it up.
I guess this is how whoever is coaching the American team is wanting to run their practice.
Oh, no. Who is that? I know you know who that is. Who's running it?
I don't know, actually, because I know Mike Kafka is doing the national team because, he looks like Nosferatu. He looks like a vampire out there. But I don't know who runs the American team off the top of my head.
Oh, my.
Well, before we get into some of the prospects, Zach, you talked to Mike Borgonzi, the Titans general manager. Good stuff, really interesting stuff. I thought in particular what he said about Dave Ziegler and his role, what he'll be doing with the Titans. The team has made that official, Ziegler and McKenzie joining the front office. You can watch that, by the way, on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube page. Be sure to like and subscribe while you're there. Also, wherever you get your podcasts, F-Word Pods. What did you take away? What was the most interesting thing to you on your chat with Borgonzi?
Well, I think the most interesting thing was basically he called, because you hire Dave Ziegler, you hire Reggie McKenzie, and what do all the fans and the media cling to first? The records as Raiders GMs. Like, why are you bringing in people from the Las Vegas Raiders or the Oakland Raiders with sub-500 records? And he just called it laughable. Like, he was just like, it's laughable. Every situation is different. These guys are very well respected personnel guys and very thorough in their player evaluation. And I saw Reggie McKenzie was there scouting. And then also, so was Ziegler, as well as McKenzie was still there today. I think most of the Titans contingent that were the execs and the higher-ups all left out yesterday. But I saw a couple of the scouts, and I saw Reggie McKenzie were still there grinding on day 3 of the practice. He also talked about his non-negotiables, and he's really big on character. He used the term good citizens and teammates, and as I was kind of going through my notes just now, I was like, okay, he says that. I should have followed up with, well, how did you guys end up drafting Tyreek Hill? Because Tyreek Hill is not considered a player of good character, a good citizen, because not to diminish who Tyreek Hill is as a person, but how did that particular instance present itself during the interviews and talking to coaches and talking to players and talking to people in his life, using that as an example for their thoroughness? He did go into how they've been, basically you're talking, this process has been going for these particular players for at least 3 years in most scouting instances. So it's a relationship business. So the way that he cuts through the bull crap with that is that it's a big requirement for area scouts is to build these relationships with high school coaches, college coaches, and teammates and players. And sometimes they may have to go back and dig a little bit more if they do not meet Borgonzi's requirements throughout the process of thoroughness. And so, stuff like that to me really stood out. We covered a lot, everything from free agency to conviction, having to draft a quarterback. And he says, and he agreed with me that when you have to draft a player because you have to in a position, he says, when I said it leads to disaster results more often than not, he thoroughly agreed. So he didn't come right out and say it, but he said yes. Like, he says, you're right, or correct, or spot on. I can't remember what phrase he used, but, like, he's all about that leadership, all about that culture. And I think if you're a Titans fan, the general consensus last night on Football and Other F Words live show, 6 p.m., we'll be doing another one tonight, was that everybody felt a little bit better about the direction the team is going based on these answers, and we covered all kinds of different topics.
Yeah, well, with Zach Lyons, I got to add to that. It all sounds good on paper, and I'm hoping it's all right, but we know the past history, so hopefully they get some good players and some wins. But I wanted to address what you said about character, and you kind of put it in a different box. I think some GMs, when they're in that position, they still kind of look at Tyreek Hill or guys of his ilk. It could be, for another instance, blood clotting. I'm going to use that because he went to the Chiefs. They get good value for where they had them rated. So you probably had, the guard there with the Chiefs there, Trey Smith rated, as a second rounder. You get him in the 5th, 6th round, right? You had Tyreek Hill rated as maybe a first rounder or a second rounder, and you get him in the 5th, 6th round. So I think it changes as you go. It's not as clear cut as he just answered the question. If you still get value, or if a guy was injured, then you get him at value, even though he was ranked as a first round, you get him in the 4th, 5th round. So I think there are exceptions to that rule, and I think that's what I wanted to hear. What would be exceptions to the rules when you didn't see the character or leadership from those players, if they had one incident or multiple?
Yeah, and that's why I wish I would have followed up on it, because we did talk about exceptions to the rule, but there were exceptions to the size profile, the athletic profile. And he brought up Trent McDuffie as an example to that. But to the exceptions of that, I do wish I would have asked that one question. Like I said, I was sitting here going through my notes right before I came on there, and I was like, man, I wish I would have followed up with that question. And because I think that would have been so important to see how that process ended up in exception, because we've already heard the Trey Smith stuff. I mean, we've heard that like 3 or 4 times from his appearances on everybody else's show. So I didn't really have Trey Smith on my radar to put him on there as another question to get the same answer we've already heard. But I wish I would have hit home on that Tyreek Hill thing, because I do think that's important, because he brings up, he doesn't just say character, he says good citizens. And I thought that was just such a unique term to use when describing these young men and players. I mean, community people in the community. So, like, when Dane Brugler puts out his Beast report, and this is kind of what I talked about in Football and F Words, he goes in these great personal details about the lives these players have led in certain situations that have led them to the game of football. It's how I kind of zoned in on Jalen Harold being kind of a guy that would be drafted, was because they talked about team captains and all this kind of stuff throughout the offseason, and sure enough, he was. So I do agree. Likely they had Tyreek Hill rated pretty high, and likely they said, okay, the value here outweighs maybe any concerns. But I wondered if maybe they found out that the concerns weren't as warranted or as vaunted or as concerning as we all thought through their process. And because that's what I was trying to dig into, was the process. So really a missed opportunity there for me.
Well, yesterday I asked you a little bit, or 2 days ago, so I asked you about Brew McCoy, a Tennessee guy, and then, he couldn't separate from, the DBs there. So I'm going to ask you about a D tackle there, a lot there from Tennessee. Have you noticed him, or what have you noticed, if you have, what it looks like and what he's projected to be, come draft day?
I don't know where he plays on this Tennessee team, because everybody I've talked to down here considers him a first-round talent.
Oh.
I don't know if I go that far. I think maybe a second round, but will say this. I don't think Tennessee used him enough at the University of Tennessee. When you go, that's the general feeling I've gotten from talking to a few people down here on the sidelines that are from various companies and NFL teams and stuff like that, is that Tennessee kind of wasted Omar Norman Lott. And I thought that was so interesting. They got so heavy in a rotation. And then he didn't practice yesterday. He did practice today. And I didn't get to, I had an interview with someone else today from Zebra Technologies, the tracking company that does all the data for next gen stats and everything down here at the Senior Bowl. And so I missed the very beginning of the American team, practice where they do their bag drills, right? And he showed up in the 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s, but in the bag drills, everybody that I've talked to, because I asked, is he back today? And they said yes. Everybody I talked to said that he looks to have, outside of Walter Nolan, the best feet, the best technique. So I do think that there is a place for Omar Norman-Lott on an NFL team, and I think maybe because pass rushers do have an upside, and he's a little undersized for my liking, but he has such good pass rush technique and good quick feet. He looked better than Princely out of Ole Miss, even looked better than Jared Ivey, who Jared Ivey's having a great week. Outside of Walter Nolan, his footwork and technique probably stood out the most out of everybody there. Bruno McCoy did not practice today.
Well, another edge me and you have talked about, I forgot he was even there. The kid from Arkansas, I thought was a major factor beating Tennessee that time, and that was Landon Jackson. What have you seen of him? I was watching him a little bit today. I know that it wasn't full goal, but what are they saying down there? Where's he's looking to go in the draft?
Oh, boy. So he got choke slammed his first day out here. Got put in the dirt. He got put in the dirt 3 times day one in one-on-ones. I saw him get put in the dirt again today. Day 2 was more of the same. Landon Jackson did not really. How do I say it? So he was a second-round edge rusher from most big boards and instances.
Okay.
He may fall down those rankings, but he'll still be, bottom of the second, top of the third kind of guy. He wasn't impressive. He didn't really help his stock a lot on a consistent basis, but sometimes there's those players that doesn't really affect because, again, most of these teams are really tape driven, but I don't think he answered. I don't think he showed that high motor, and this is a really hard place to show the high motor in my opinion, until you get to the game. For some players, it just doesn't show up here. But because you're not playing a full 60 minutes, you're stopping and starting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting your turn, then you're going up against different people. I would just say that I don't find him to be a adequate solution for this Tennessee Titans team. He needs to go to a team where he can be in the background and kind of move his way forward throughout the year. The Tennessee Titans just don't have that kind of time.
Well, I watched the last couple of days, and these two guys kind of stood out, and maybe I just caught them in a Cliff Notes kind of version when I watched them based off of, watching on TV. But I love the receiver, Tej Johnson from Oregon, and I also like I want to put him at guard. I know he was doing both guard and tackle, but I like him at guard because he looked like he had good, quick feet, and that was the kid from North Dakota State, is slipping my name, Zabel or something like that is his last name. So
yeah, Gray Zabel.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about those two guys and what you saw being in totality there the whole entire time.
So you'll like this story, Blaine. I got a hold of this story today. Gray Zabel has been dominating day 1 and day 2, right?
Oh.
He is just making every defensive player look foolish. But here's the thing. He's letting them get into their chest, in his chest, okay? And so apparently the defensive line coaches have just had enough. And told everybody last night, if he lets you into his chest, you grab him and you throw him to the ground. What is wrong with you guys? Just going crazy on the players, apparently.
Uh-huh.
And sure enough, he started losing some reps today. So, they started getting his number today. But Gray Zabel is a guy that had probably, I think you would be hard-pressed to find someone that said that didn't help their stock more than Gray Zabel. Gray Zabel probably made the most money this week. Hands down. And that is great for him, great for North Dakota State. That happens down here for those North Dakota State guys, especially you talk about Cody Mock was down here and, those smaller school kind of guys. Uh-huh. So that's a dude. You're right. That is a dude. And listen, if for whatever reason the Tennessee Titans do not have a right guard going into the draft and Gray Zabel is somehow miraculously still sitting there when they pick at the top of the second, they should draft him. I mean, and if you get upset that they drafted a guard in the second round, you're not going to be mad for very long because that dude is a baller. And you're totally right about Tez Johnson. Like I cannot describe, like, even him jogging. He's faster than everybody else. He gets open even when he's jogging, trying to wait on one of these quarterbacks to actually throw him the ball. And someone called him a stretched out Tank Dell. And so here's the thing. So here's the question I posed to Tennessee Titans fans last night, because, these last 2 years, injury concerns with Ladd McConkey in high school, size concerns, or not high school, college, size concerns with Tank Dell. Mm-hmm. I just didn't want to put him high enough. So I'm learning from a mistake. I know Tez Johnson's small, but even if you had Tank Dell on this team for however many games he played last year, wouldn't that have made the team better in those games? And I'm looking at Tez Johnson, I'm like, this dude gets open in the phone box, he gets open in red zone drills, He gets open deep drills in the middle of the field, he'll make a contested catch. It's his quick feet. It's not just the speed. It's the change of direction with his feet that makes him so dangerous and able to just generate pressure no matter who's covering them. It doesn't matter which of these quarterbacks down here, what their size is or anything. He just gets open, and he just gets 3 or 4 yards of cushion. It just feels like on every play. So, I would be all in on Tez Johnson, and I was expecting not to like Tez Johnson when I got down here, and I just can't deny it. That dude just gets open.
Yeah, I watched him when they played, I think, Ohio State, and I liked him instantly. Those receivers that are quick and fast are the ones that are the toughest to guard in the National Football League. He has both. He reminds me of Tank Dell. Nobody guarded Tank Dell last year when he was down there. It didn't matter. And I go, well, we'll just look past his size. Well, that got him in the third round because of his size. And they said, oh, he won't be durable. So I'm right on point with you. We're on with Zach Lyons down at the Senior Bowl.
Just monster productivity the last 2 years. Tez Johnson, 2,000 yards, 20 touchdowns the last 2 years combined. And he was a really productive player the year prior to the 2024 season at Oregon after he transferred from Troy. He's an Alabama native. But Zach, Evan Stewart joined him up there, the former 5-star who transferred from Texas A&M. And Evan Stewart is the guy I was looking at in that Oregon wide receiver core. And Stewart took a big step back to Tez Johnson. He's coming back to Oregon next year. If you asked me, Zach, and I'm no draft guru by any stretch, but if you asked me a year ago, I'd be saying Evan Stewart might be, that's the first rounder out of Oregon at receiver. From Texas A&M.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Tez Johnson kind of stole all those headlines.
I mean, he ran away with it. Hey, listen, Jalen Noel, everybody's going to be talking about Jalen Noel at Iowa State, and rightfully so. He's the smaller guy opposite of Jaden Higgins, their starting wide receivers down there at Iowa State. Jalen Noel has been a sideline king, and he's been able to win in every sort of way you want a wide receiver to win. But Tez Johnson is just gaining separation at another level. And it really, if you're the Tennessee Titans, and I heard that the Tennessee Titans were walked away very impressed before they came down the Senior Bowl with LaJohntay Wester over at the Shrine Bowl. And he's the Colorado slot wide receiver.
Yeah.
They came away very impressed by him. Well, I don't know how you could leave this and not be very impressed with a slew of wide receivers that would likely play in the slot, and Jalen Lane out of Virginia Tech, Tez Johnson out of Oregon, Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. And Jalen Noel may be stocky enough to play on the outside as well. I mean, he makes so many great sideline catches. It's crazy. And obviously the guy from TCU, Jack Beck, he was awesome. I mean, but he's a guy that probably made a lot of money and maybe will go in the first round. He was making every kind of catch he needed to make. He's a tough worker, physical worker. But I'm thinking that if you're looking for speed, because that's something that Mike Bergonzi emphasized with me, speed on the perimeter, because I asked him, you guys drafted Tyreek Hill, Xavier Worthy, McCole Hardman, went after and signed Hollywood Brown. Seems like you have a type at wide receiver. Why those guys? And he said, speed on the perimeter. And he says, I want guys that can also get open, creating separation. And we talked about how, it's not just speed and the separation. All these guys created separation on a routine basis against some really good defensive backs that are down here. So Listen, I know they got Jaquan Jackson. They drafted him in the 6th round, but your upgrade, a guy that can actually play at wide receiver and possibly return pumps, is here at the Senior Bowl. And if they don't walk away with one of those, I would say, smaller, undersized guys that they think they're going to play in the slot from the Senior Bowl, I'd be very surprised because they had a slew of them down here.
Zach, quickly, because we're up against it here. Quarterback synopsis, who has helped themselves and who has hurt themselves since the last time we spoke after you told us Jalen Milroe had a really tough day 2 days ago?
Yeah, Jalen Milroe looked pretty good today. He made a couple of layered throws over the middle of the field, and he had one to Jack Beck for a touchdown. He rebounded a little bit. I think with this quarterback class, if you're looking for consistency from the quarterback position as an NFL team, then you'd probably look at Tyler Shough from Louisville, Seth Hennigan from Memphis, Jackson Dart and Dylan Gabriel and Jalen Milroe are obviously the big names, but they were just so up and down. So I think you're just going to have to, and this has kind of been the Senior Bowl MO, is that they get some exciting names for the quarterback position and none of them ever deliver. So I think with these particular group quarterbacks that are down here, you're going to have to be reliant on the tape. It's just going to have to be the tape, and you're going to have to rely on it, and you're going to have faith that your coaching staff can get these guys prepared if you draft one of these guys. I know there are people out here that think that Jackson Dart solidified himself closer to quarterback 2 than quarterback 4 is one person's opinion, which I think it was kind of passed around the stadium as a little bit of a little bit of a joke because nobody there thought it. But I would say that if any of these guys were to start for a team, it would have to be Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. But I don't know if any of these guys really helped themselves, per se, by their performance down here. And they maybe necessarily didn't hurt themselves because obviously tape is more important, but I don't think anybody really helped themselves.
Okay, there you go. Zach Lyons of Cover 2 and F Words Pod from down to Mobile. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate the time.
No problem. Oh, forget Lions Ford, Lewisburg, Tennessee. Drive a little, save a lot down there, then Mark Spain Real Estate.
There you go. Covered all his bases. All right, Zach, we will talk to you soon and continue on. Senior Bowl game coming up on Saturday. When we come back, Bill Belichick has suggested a name change for the Super Bowl trophy. We'll tell you what that is next. It's Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for European car repair needs now for 26 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching the hometown business take off. Well, we're now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of a backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. What was them, Blaine?
Cover 2 is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Lucas Panzica, Blaine Bishop with you. One more segment before 3HL gets in here. And they will continue the conversation for the rest of the day. So Bill Belichick, 8-time Super Bowl champ, 6 times as a head coach, twice as an assistant, has made a suggestion. He did this on the Let's Go podcast with co-host Jim Gray and suggested maybe they rename the Lombardi Trophy to the Brady Trophy. He won 7 of them.
Oh, my.
What do you think? Now, Jim Gray's retort was they don't name it the Star Trophy, referring to Bart Starr, who was the Packers quarterback for those first 2 Super Bowl wins. And Belichick, obviously Lombardi is the coach of those Super Bowl wins. So Belichick's response is it's about the players. So they should name it the Brady Trophy. 7 Super Bowl championships. What do you think?
Ooh, I love his comeback there with Bill with I don't know. I wish Jim Gray would have said, well, maybe we'll just name it Mahomes Trophy. See what Bill would have said.
We might get there.
He's like, but he may be the first, or maybe he wins 3 in a row and wins 3 in a row. He's the only one to ever do it. So does that eclipse winning 6 in totality, or whatever the number is with Tom Brady? I don't know. How many has he won? 7 or
7?
7,
yeah.
7. Yeah. So it's just, insane that he's gotten to 7. Because one thing that, Brady would say is he didn't get there by himself. It was coaching. It was also players. So, yeah, was he in the forefront? But at the end of the day, there was some times where he was a dink and dunk, and it was more their defense carried them all the way there. But the quarterback gets all the credit.
Yeah, they're not going to rename it, though, right? Nor should they. But I think he was saying that a little tongue-in-cheek, too.
Yeah, it was fun to talk about, no doubt.
But who do you think, in terms of just the legacy conversation with this Super Bowl, do you think is there more weight on the Eagles or on the Chiefs to complete the history of a three-peat that's never been done? Or on the Eagles and Saquon Barkley to cap off what has just been... I mean, if Saquon Barkley wins the Super Bowl, I assume he would shatter, he's really close to shattering the all-time record for rush yards by a running back, regular season and postseason combined. And if he were to cap that with the Super Bowl, we would have to call it the greatest single season by a running back in the history of the NFL, right? If he's got the yards and he's got the championship.
Yeah, I'm really conflicted on this Super Bowl, just in general. I want to see Andy win 3 in a row, and then I'm done with the Chiefs.
Okay,
and when I say that, it's because I want to see history. I want to say I was part of seeing it, and a guy who actually coached. I love for him to win his first one. I was happy about that. And the second one, I was more kind of, I wanted Philly to win. Now that they've gotten to where they are now to win 3, I'm kind of leaning towards more Andy to see history. But man, it seems as though all the pressure should be on the Chiefs, but the way they play and the way Andy coaches just being in his locker rooms, the pressure is on the Eagles because of their fan base and what their expectations are, that they should take down, that they are the Eagles and that they feel like they know they're going to win this game, just how they go about their business. I think so. I don't really feel there's pressure more so on either side, but I would say it's the Eagles if I was guessing, and it should be the other way around. The way Mahomes plays and the way Andy Reid coaches, I just think that's not even part of the equation. And I think it's going to be whoever has the ball last win. And by the way, don't forget, Hurts, when they played 2 years ago, outperformed Mahomes, in my opinion. I thought he should have got the MVP, even though they lost. But naturally, you got to give it to the team that won. But he played fabulous in that game. And if he plays as cool and calm like he did there, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to be able to pull this off. So this is a close one. Is the spread out already or no? I have no idea.
The last I've seen, I can check the updated spread.
It has to be less than 3, though, right?
The last I saw was Chiefs 1.5.
Oh.
It is still Chiefs 1.5.
Yeah. Oh, so this is going to be a really good game. I just want to see a real good game. We went through a period of time where we saw a lot of blowouts in the Super Bowl. I think this is going to be a very competitive, down to the wire, and that's the way I want it. So whoever wins, I'm appreciative of both. But after this Super Bowl, I think it's now. I've had enough Chiefs stuff right now.
Yeah. The fatigue is there for sure.
It's fatiguing me. This is it.
I don't think it's hate People hated the Patriots.
I got this way about the Jordan era time too. Like, hey, it's enough time. Like, somebody else must be winning, man. It can't be one dominant team over and over again in pro sports. Like, come on, man. Dang, somebody else can't win.
But you got those Rockets years in there.
Yeah, they did back to back.
The Chiefs, the last time Hurts played against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, 27-38, 304 yards, a touchdown, 70 rush yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I told you.
It is amazing how that fades, right?
Impressive.
Because you didn't get the ring. Because I remember that being a great game, but I don't remember that game and think, man, Jalen Hurts was amazing in that game.
Oh, I do.
I'm reminded, just looking at his stat line, he was phenomenal in that game.
Yeah, and I didn't remember his stat line, obviously. I just remember watching that game, and I was really impressed running and throwing, and I thought he did enough. I thought there was a couple critical calls they didn't call. Holding on the tackle that was pretty obvious, and it was another play there. It might have been holding on the secondary.
The defensive holding. Was it Gardner Johnson?
Yeah, it was questionable. Like, oh, man, and that really kind of turned it back towards the Chiefs, and that got them back into a flow. And then
that's what did it.
Actually, Mahomes, he took them down and scored like he always does.
38-35. We can only hope that this one will live up to that one, Super Bowl 59. We got a week and a half to talk about it, so plenty more to come. But I think it's going to be a great game. We've gotten lucky, knock on wood, because we've gotten really fortunate with the last few Super Bowls. We haven't had the last Super Bowl that was just hard to watch was that Rams-Pats. And it was a close game with 13-3, but it was not a fun watch.
Yeah.
Right. And then you had the Broncos getting just obliterated by the Seahawks years before that. Yeah. But I feel like we've had a pretty good run in the last few years. First ever overtime Super Bowl a year ago against the 49ers. So high hopes for this one and what's just been a phenomenal NFL season.
Some people will, but you talk about hate. They may hate that A.J. Brown may get a Super Bowl ring.
Well, he's already got more Super Bowl appearances than his replacement has receiving touchdowns in his career. I hate to bring that up again. I feel like it's been brought up.
What if he be reading a book on the sidelines with Vrabel as the head coach?
That's a great question. Yeah, great question.
I don't think so.
Nick Sirianni, Mike Vrabel, different way of going about things for sure. Same with Andy Reid. But no, we got 9 days to talk about that. But I've had fun hanging out with you here from 1 to 3 on Cover 2, man. Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio will be on tomorrow, and he'll have plenty to tell you from his time at Senior Bowl with the entire Titans Radio gang. But Blaine, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody hanging out on Cover 2. Powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. But in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.